Hello everyone, Ravi Teja this side. I have Pavan Bhaiya as well with me. We are here, episode number 36. Of course, a long overdue. I think the last we did was about a couple of months ago. We had cricketing action for sure in between, but after the World Cup, or probably there wasn't much to excite is what I was of an opinion too. But honestly, considering the fact that the home season is almost done with limited overs, and then we have a huge Test series as well coming up, so we thought we should kind of meet, catch up, and then talk about the home series, home set of all rubbers that happened with Sri Lanka coming to India, New Zealand coming to India, and of course India traveling to Bangladesh. Uh, and what necessarily happened out there, what's the outcome, and how are we looking at in the next 6 to 7 months, given the World Cup is like what, 8 months away or 7 months away. Of course, there will be a lot of things that will be changing and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, what's important for us to remember is that there is very little or no change that necessarily takes place, except the superstars returning. So for that, we're gonna have a detailed but yet crisp conversation. Welcome, Pawan Bhaiya. How are you doing?
Hi Ravi, I'm doing good. Hope the same with you. Yeah, it's been a while since we connected post the World Cup, and like you mentioned, all the eyes are now on next ICC event that's going to come up later this year. That's the One Day World Cup, the actual World Cup in the real sense, and that's the reason we thought it'd be good to connect and see how we are heading towards that as far as Team India is concerned, and um, how are we building towards that. Of course, keeping in mind that we have played very less ODI cricket in the last 3 years. So the focus is completely on that from a white ball perspective. And we are done with the Bangladesh tour and most of the white ball games in the home season. So it'll be nice time to reflect based on that.
100%. So, just to start off, I mean, of course, it's there's no specific agenda to it, given it's a review and whatnot. But, to gather more insights, what's important for us to look at is all the, say, three series that necessarily took place. Our test rubbers at Bangladesh and ODIs in Bangladesh, and how Virat Kohli came back to form in the Bangladesh tour, and also in the subsequent Sri Lanka tour, mainly in the ODIs part, and of course the thrashing of New Zealand, I'd say, with a couple of exciting games. So, just in terms of insight more than anything else, uh, of course, how comfortable are you with the ODI squad? Let's not talk about T20 mainly because we necessarily did not play our potential maybe best 11, though we did manage to win the series. But what do you think of the ODI squad at this point in time? Of course, I know our main bowler is missing, but nonetheless, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I think we are progressing well. And like I mentioned, we had been in a sort of a rut as far as the ODI game was concerned for quite a while now, having not played too many games. And that's why once this last T20 World Cup was done, the focus more or less shifted to the one day arena. And I think we have had some good gains, while on the other hand, there are some concerns as well leading into the World Cup. And if you see, the preparation started from that tour of Bangladesh, and on an average, you would say there were 22 to 23 games that were slated to be played by India leading into that World Cup, which by modern day standards would be sufficient enough to gauge as to what is going to be your squad of 15 players. And we also came to know from the new selection committee that they had earmarked 20 players as part of those plans. Having said that, if we start off with the team, I think one clear-cut decision they made was to give Shubman Gill a longer rope as an opening batter in the one-day side. And for once, they decided that they're going to move on from Shikhar Dhawan, who's been a champion cricketer for India, especially in the one-day format. I think that was his most preferred and favorite format, to say the least. And the performances that he has given for India in the blue flannels since that 2013 Champions Trophy when he started opening with Rohit Sharma have been terrific. And I think that would signal the possible end of his one day career. And they needed to make that change as well because you couldn't have Rohit, Virat, and Shekhar all playing together, who have been our top three and have done wonderfully well, have given human service in the one-day game. But somehow that template was not going to yield us the results that we want going forward with the changing landscape of ODI cricket, which has just now become an extension of the T20 game. So from that aspect, we're very well served, and I think Shubman Gill has been the biggest gain this season so far. Everyone touted him to be the next best thing, and the next biggest thing in Indian cricket. And it was all a question of providing him consistent opportunities, and that's what has been done. And I think with the ease and class that he displays, um, we are going to be in great situation as far as that opening combination of Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill is concerned. And of course, it was so heartwarming to see Virat Kohli come back into his own in the ODI format. Um, and I remember sharing a snippet with you how R. Ashwin mentioned that maybe because India did not play too many ODIs in the last 3 years, there was no particular rhythm to Virat's game because if you see, he has earned his name firstly through the ODI game and he's got his maximum centuries in that format, followed by, superlative performances in the other formats as well. So getting that monkey off his back and getting that century in Bangladesh, followed by another one against Sri Lanka, augurs well for us. And him firing on all cylinders is an absolute must for us heading into that World Cup. And then comes the most critical question of the number four slot. It's been a perennial pain point for us since the 2019 World Cup, and I think Shreyas Iyer for the largest bit has, staked his claim in there. Has been a consistent performer, and he's been a big gainer as well since we have him in that position. And I think somewhere down the line, India need to figure out how to get the best out of Surya Kumar Yadav in the one-day game, and not just make him a T20 specialist at the end of the day, because he is such a proven performer in red ball cricket, has more than 5,000 runs in the Ranji Trophy, which very few people realize, has played a lot of List A matches, the Vijay Hazare trophies. It's just that he's got to have that backing. I think he will be the backup middle order batsman going into that World Cup. And more or less, because the World Cup is going to be held in India, your top order is going to give you good starts and stick around until the 25th to the 30th over at least. And then after that, it becomes a T20 game. That's where Surya Kumar Yadav can come in and be deadly dangerous from the word go. So I definitely see a role for him. It's just that he needs clarity and backing from the skipper. KL Rahul is going to be the wicket keeper at number five, and somehow they had to fit him in the scheme of things. Again, the ball is in his court now to keep performing at a consistent level. It'll be interesting to see who they earmark as the backup wicket keeper. I know Ishan Kishan scored that magnificent double hundred in Bangladesh, but has been off the boil since then. Um, Sanju Samson has done no good from that perspective by getting injured. So unless and until he has those chances and proves himself, he could be in the reckoning for that second wicketkeeper slot. But for that, he needs to play the remaining matches that are there and build up to the World Cup and prove his credentials. Um, and then come the all rounders, which who are going to provide balance to our team. I think Hardik Pandya developing that bowling skill set back has augured well for the team. Even if he can't bowl his entire quota of 10 overs, uh, bowling 6 or 7 overs is going to be absolutely critical from that point of view. And Ravindra Jadeja is also going to come into the mix and be that second or the third spinner, along with being a great asset with the bat and in the field as well. So those two at number six and number seven are going to be the balance clinchers for India and make sure that India have that six bowling options because that's a bare minimum in modern day white ball cricket that a captain needs. And you ideally want to have backups for them in this situation as well. And I think that's where Washington Sundar has nailed his spot. Um, he's got very limited chances, to be honest, in every form that he's played since his debut. And whatever chances he's got, he's proved his mettle with the bat and the ball. And in subcontinental conditions, I don't think you will need a replacement or a backup for Hardik Pandya as a seaming all-rounder, but as a spin bowling all-rounder. It'll be a tussle between him and Deepak Huda, but I think Washington Sundar should win that battle. And that leaves us with the bowling. And to start off with the spin bowling, I think having Kuldeep Yadav in your scheme of things is going to be an absolute bare minimum. The guy plays matches across formats, and whenever he performs, he gets dropped, which is absolutely, you know, uh, flabbergasting as far as I'm concerned. Again, he has got to have that backing, and I think he has pipped Chahal to be the number one spinner in white ball cricket. He just has that confidence, has that variety, and can run through a side on his day, and that's what his spinners need. That is backing of the captain. Uh, Yuzi Chahal, on the other hand, needs to be given that confidence. It was not long ago that he was a premier spinner in your white ball format, but the tables have turned now. And Kuldeep has worked a lot on his batting as well, which we saw in those test matches in Bangladesh. So, um, and he's better in field than Chahal as well. So, it remains to be seen how India balance their 11 out, whether they want to go in with one frontline spinner plus Ravindra Jadeja or two frontline spinners plus Jadeja. It'll depend a lot on the venue and the situation, of course. But I think Chahal and Kuldeep will definitely be in the mix over there, which leaves us with the fast bowling options. Jasprit Bumrah, like you mentioned, is the premier bowler, and how fit he's going to be remains to be seen. He's obviously been wrapped up in cotton wool and was slated to come back for the Australian series, but they've done a good thing of restraining him over there and making sure that he's back to playing only when he attains full fitness. And the biggest revelation or the biggest gain in this season again has been Mohammad Siraj along with Shubman Gill. He's just taken up the responsibility and has become a more lethal bowler. I think he understands his game now far better, and is making the ball talk, uh, especially by developing that scramble screen, which makes the ball come in. His natural delivery was one that leaves the batsman, but he's developed that deadly in swinger with the scramble seam now, and it's become very very consistent. And this is what you like to see in your players, that once they are a known quantity at the international circuit, how are they going to better themselves and stay those two steps ahead of the opposition? So I think across formats is going to be your pillar for the next 6 or 7 years, and it's heartening to see the way he's progressing. I think he, along with Bumrah, well mantle that pace attack. And I think the emergence of Siraj has, you know, um, put the question mark on Mohammad Shami, who has not been at his best in the white ball format. I think because that is lack of game time in that format as well, and um, the expectations that are there from him are pretty high because of his skill set. So he will definitely be that third seamer in there if India decide to play three frontline seamers and then Hardik as both seamer plus two spinners. And you rounded off Umran Malik, the pacey guy. I think he's developing a sense of direction. Many people just quickly jump to conclusions saying that he's got all brawn and no brain. Every tearaway comes like that in international cricket. Their main asset is going to be pace, and they're going to learn the tricks of the trade in the meanwhile by playing more and more along with their seniors. And once he develops that skill, that combination of line and length with pace is going to be at the peak of his career. And he's going to be critical in the middle overs because he showed that we were picking up those wickets in the middle over. He obviously does not bowl with the new ball, but he picks up those crucial wickets in the middle overs. And one thing you got to understand about him, that it's going to be either boom or bust with him. There's not going to be a containing role that you can expect out of Umran Malik. He's either going to go for runs or pick up wickets. And even when he picks up wickets, he'll be going at 6 or 7 runs per over. But that's a done deal. That's accepted in modern day white ball cricket, because those days of containing batsmen in white ball cricket and winning games is done and dusted. It's no longer in vogue. You got to bowl out the opposition, and win the games because 350, 375, I think is going to be the par score in those Indian conditions with all that dew around in October and November. Um, so those were my snippets about the side and what are the gains by India. And just to round it off, Ravi, I think one factor that we need to put real emphasis on killing the game when we are ahead and have the foot on the throat of the opposition. We lost those two ODIs in Bangladesh and the series. The first match, Bangladesh had to get 50 runs and had 9 wickets down, and we let them off the hook. Mehdi Hassan scored those runs brilliantly with Mustafizur at the other end, who gave him company. And then in the second match, we had Bangladesh at 70 for six, and then from there on, they had a 200-run partnership and came back into the game. We got to see that again in the series against Sri Lanka as well, although India won that game quite comfortably in the end. But Shanaka scored a brilliant century in one of the ODIs, and the margin of victory reduced, which could have significant impact in a multinational tournament like the World Cup as far as run rate is concerned. And then we saw what happened against New Zealand in that first ODI in Hyderabad, where we were cruising to victory, and suddenly the likes of Mitchell Santner and the other spinner who I keep forgetting his name. He hit a brilliant century.
Michael Bracewell.
Mitchell, Mike Bracewell, yeah. He almost got them home in that regard because once you're in striking distance, achieving a required run rate of 10 to 12 over 10, 12 to 10 runs per over in the last 10 overs is not a big deal anymore in white ball cricket. Uh, so I think whenever we have been in such dominant positions, we have eased off a bit. I think in the field, and then suddenly when you see the opposition coming back, you see Rohit Sharma panicking as well, and I'm sure he must have had a lot of gray hair, uh, and so yeah, those were my 2 cents on what I feel um, we have achieved from this white ball season. Sorry, I took a bit of more time in there by giving those insights, but I'd like to get a very concise view from your end as well on that.
Oh yes. So the point that you have driven towards the end, right? It's a very critical point. How we actually need to kill the games when it's supposed to, and we don't necessarily see much of tail wagging uh, in general, but these are the days wherein you're looking at bowlers who can actually bat well. So that Hyderabad ODI 130 or maybe 135 for six when Tom Latham fell, it was done and dusted, right? Because they were chasing a very huge total of about 350. But the innings that we saw of Michael Bracewell and Mitchell Santner, and there are going to be more of such, more of such innings that we're going to see a lot in world cricket to come. Uh, Batsmen are getting stronger, bats are getting heavier, boundaries are smaller, so the opportunity to score runs is not very difficult these days. On a very similar line of thought, right? I personally feel Indian bowling lineup and their ability to bat also has improved significantly. Be it the likes of Bumrah, Siraj can bat, Mohammad Shami can do what he can do. They pretty much won us a test match out there. Uh, let's not, and that's why I pretty much very think that I very much think that Washington Sundaren's role in the Indian batting lineup is quite critical, and hence I would love to see him play the ODI World Cup. Uh, as a maybe the third spinner, or probably as probably a someone who can spin the ball, but also can make his presence feel with the bat. Um, so that's a very huge takeaway that we should actually focus with in relation to how our tail needs to wag, because 350 will be a norm. 350 is kind of a par total in the subcontinent. We'll have those situations wherein you're just left with 60 runs of say 35 balls or whatever, right? Or depending upon how accelerated the top order bats, you're probably left with more deliveries, and then the tailenders need to behave more controlled, or probably need to maneuver and then get to the other end. There are a lot of requirements on at this end, And given the way the cricket has evolved now, it's very important for bowlers to do what they should, and hence not major reservations or kind of contradictions to what you told in terms of the playing 11. But yeah, of course, I just think Washington Sundar's presence is very important, and um, we would need to kind of take care of him even more, and give him more game time, so that he's right there spinning the ball very good with the field as well. We've seen the catch that he's taken, and then of course his batting is quite invaluable. That's one. And of course, while we are kind of talking in stretch, and of course I think we have a very clear understanding of what is the uh, playing 11 that we saw. I mean, I would really like to, probably the only one addition would be Arshdeep Singh. I mean, I really um, feel that his presence is important, but at the same time, what's important for us to remember is that there are 2 to 3 players who are coming back to the squad after an injury, break, be it Ravindra Jadeja, be it Jasprit Bumrah. So it's very important for us to see how they respond firstly to the IPL, and then naturally, of course, first we have the Test series happening out here, and of course the IPL is out there, and of course India's touring West Indies, and then I think uh, Australia is coming to India in maybe September for 3 match ODI series, and then we go ahead and play the Asia Cup maybe in Dubai or in India. I'm not sure. There's a lot of cricket there, and then we're not very sure the fitness concerns, and that there are multiple questions that need to be still answered. Yet there looks some amount of method to the entire madness, at least in terms of rotation policy or the kind of break that you intend to give in during the IPL. But nonetheless, it's a very, I think it's one of the most busiest season that we've we I mean, as cricketing fans, while we love this, but it's a World Cup year, and we need to be very, very mindful of the injuries out here. So I mean, just my quick thoughts on that. That's about it, to be honest. And ODI is, of course, the World Cup is about 8 months away, but still, there's so many nuances here and there. With bowling options, you're looking at some emerging stars at the same time. Some stars you can't, sit out. Maybe Shami is one such bowler who I'd love to play every ODI, but at the same time is not in the best of the form. And then 6 months later, it's a different question to answer. I mean, we never know what the data points would suggest then, and so that I think those are my few insights, and a great, and I wanted a series which would probably be closely fought, but the Hyderabad ODI also was more of a one-off thing. It's an amazing knock, but it's like a one-off thing. So wish New Zealand had a very fully fit, or probably they traveled with their full strength, but nonetheless they did show some fight out there, and we got to see good, very competitive uh, T20s as well, especially the first. Uh, so that's where we are with the entire home rubbers, and then we as part of our next episode, we're going to cover the Test series that Australia is going to play in India. And yes, it's the hype is all set, and really looking forward to that bit. What do you think, Baya?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as it is, we get very few series in the test arena which are evenly matched and are mouth-watering in that regard. So really looking forward to the Border Gavaskar Trophy and the resumption of the rivalry between these two nations.
Oh yes. Okay, so that pretty much ends our this episode, and of course we're gonna catch up soon uh, on our Test series preview, a series that pretty much requires, because it's pretty much a setting or a premise to the World Test Championship finale as well. Let's hope for the best. Thanks for your support. See you all.
Thank you, guys.